Meanwhile, 5 environmental activists who organised protests which brought parts of the M25 to a standstill have been jailed. 4 of the defendants received 4-year jail terms. The veteran campaigner Roger Hallam, described as the ideas man of Just Stop Oil, got 5 years. In November 2022, dozens of protesters climbed gantries on the M25, forcing police to stop traffic up on the motorway, causing basically 4 days of chaos and gridlock across much of southern England. The 5 organisers had spoken on a Zoom call trying to recruit potential volunteers for the actions. The sentences handed down are the longest so far under the new law of conspiracy to cause a public nuisance introduced by the previous government. Mr. Hallam, who was arrested 3 further times during the trial for disobeying the orders of the judge, told the court, "We only have a limited amount of time to halt the unimaginable horrors of climate and social collapse and to save our democracy." The judge said the defendants had crossed the line from concerned campaigner to fanatic and appointed themselves as sole arbiters of what should be done about climate change. But yesterday's ruling provoked outrage from groups such as Greenpeace, and the TV presenter and conservationist Chris Packham said he felt physically sick at the gross miscarriage of justice, as he called it. Others, such as the former Home Secretary Priti Patel, who oversaw this law as it came in, said the sentences were long overdue. We'd love to know which side you are on. Email vine@bbc.co.uk. Please include your phone number. WhatsApp us on the long number 08000 288 291. OK, let's just get to the heart of this case first with Tom Simons, BBC News correspondent. You were at the sentencing, Tom.
Yes, that's right. And it was a very interesting sentencing. This is a fairly unusual case in that some of these cases come to court and people get quite small sentences. And these were whopping sentences, really, for the allegations, the convicted allegations that were brought against these 5 campaigners. They said, all we did was go on a Zoom call to talk about this action, and that was it. In fact, none of them actually climbed any of the gantries over the motorway, but the jury found they were very much involved in organising it, and the Zoom call was part of that process. In fact, Roger Hallam joined the Zoom call that the jury found because he wanted to encourage people to stop the traffic on the M25. And they also discussed on this Zoom call causing gridlock around the whole of the southeast by stopping cars joining the M25. You get the backlog onto all the motorways that feed it. So the court and the judge certainly felt that this was a very serious case that merited these very long prison sentences.
So I see. So they're punishing what you would call the ringleaders here. We may see in future cases against the individual protesters.
Yes, certainly there are other cases in this event, this Just Stop Oil protest in November 2022 that are due to come to court. So enough said about them because we have to be careful about contempt. But certainly the court and the judge, as I say, felt very much that these 5 were the ringleaders. And the sentence of 5 years, for example, for Roger Hallam is a couple of years longer than the previous longest sentence under this relatively new tweaked law, which enables prosecutions for, if you like, getting involved in actions which can upset public services.
So it's the sheer level of inconvenience this caused which is the exacerbating factor, is it?
Very much so. In particular, the judge actually mentioned this in his sentencing, this idea that it wasn't just an attempt to prove a point, that point being that climate change is having unreversible effects on the climate and all of our lives, but also to disrupt people. And that was very much from the evidence what the intention of this protest was. And they absolutely achieved that, even though they didn't cause gridlock around the southeast. I mean, this caused chaos on the M25 over 4 successive days, an estimated 51,000 hours of driver delays. It closed bits of the motorway throughout those 4 days, and people missed flights and medical appointments and exams. And actually there was a couple of crashes. A lorry collided with another lorry, and a police motorcyclist came off his bike while trying to deal with one of these attempts to close the motorway. And quite a large cost to the economy, is sort of approaching £1 million, according to prosecutors.
Thank you very much, Tom Simons, BBC News correspondent, who was at the sentencing. So 5 people involved. One of them got 5 years. The other 4 got 4 years. Ben Larsen is from Just Stop Oil, and he's been found guilty of disrupting traffic in the past himself. And Widdecombe is a former Conservative minister who thinks this sentence is about right. Is that your view, Anne?
Oh, yes. I mean, I was positively cheering this morning. I mean, at last, this has been taken seriously. Because to me, a peaceful protest is one in which people don't get hurt. And you don't set out to hurt people or set out to take an action that may hurt people. And if you can't get to medical appointments, if you can't even get to hospital, if those things are going on, then people are being hurt. I don't regard that as peaceful and acceptable protest.
Ben Larsen.
Thanks for having me on. Listen, if you show me a protest that's not disruptive, you'll show me a protest that doesn't work. The whole point about protest is that it is disruptive, that it is a bit irritating for those in charge, because that's the thing that gets your point across. That's the thing that drives it home. And the point here is that we're facing catastrophic breakdown. That's in the court's agreed facts between the prosecutor and defense.
Maybe we all agree with that. Maybe that, in a way, the point Anne is making is your protest actually physically hurt people.
If we agree that we're in a catastrophic breakdown, Jeremy and Anne, you're both in positions of power here. You both have the public's ear. You've got to do everything you can. And that's what people like Cressy, Lucia, Daniel, Lou, Roger, that's what they were trying to do. They were just talking about a protest. They didn't even do the protest.
Well, come on, look, they organised it. But you've got to justify, you obviously think it was justified because you've said it was.
5 years for a Zoom call. It's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, I rest my case as I've already made it. It's all very well saying you've got to do everything in your power, to resist the man-made element of climate change. But you don't do that by, as he put it, irritating people. This isn't irritating. This is actually hurting people. There was a case when Just Stop Oil were busy gridlocking parts of London, where somebody was trying to get his mother, who just had a stroke, to a hospital. And we all know that it makes an enormous difference. Now, I don't take the view that it is worth sacrificing that patient's life and hopes just because there is something very big that we've all got to deal with and which is acknowledged to having to be dealt with. It's not as if people are totally deaf to this. There's massive action on climate change.
Sorry, Anne, I've listened to you go on, but we cannot have that. There's been massive action on climate change. There's been almost nothing as the world continues to heat up. Just 2 years today, by the way.
Net
there was
zero
40...
by 2030. That is massive action, and you know it is. And you know it's going to affect every individual in the country. So people are listening. They're not going to do something different.
There has never been a UK government who is seriously engaged with this issue.
Hang on. And just 1 second. Sorry, let me just get some more out of Ben. Go on. Yeah. Well, Anne says that we're doing pretty well, actually, as a country, and we set this incredible target. What more do you want?
It's environmentally illiterate to say we've been doing well. So Just Stop Oil is calling for the UK government to support an oil and gas treaty, a treaty to phase out the extraction and burning of fossil fuels. Because this Labour government, Just Stop Oil got our first demand with this Labour government saying that they're not going to do any more oil and gas licensing rounds in the North Sea. That's the first step. The second step is to stop burning this stuff, because burning oil and gas is what puts carbon in the atmosphere, makes the world dangerously hot, and will lead to floods, crop failure.
It's how people
famine.
heat their houses.
It's how people heat their houses now. That's why we can't tell the people stop burning oil. We've got to tell the government, give us a second option. Give us renewables. They're 9 times cheaper.
I was watching Trump's conference speech yesterday, unless I got it wrong, and it does now look as if he's absolutely going to be the next president. Unless I've got it very wrong, I'm sure he said we're going to drill, baby, drill. Did you hear that?
The less paid attention, the better, I think.
No, but I mean, that outweighs everything we're doing here.
Well, okay, so here's where you're right. The UK is one small piece of the puzzle, right? This is a worldwide problem, and the UK needs to work with other governments around the world. That's why Just Stop Oil is taking international action. So Just Stop Oil has sister groups, 13 sister groups around the world. We're all going to be taking action at airports.
What, to block their roads as well?
To block their runways, to block their airports.
Okay. And we're not going to stop them doing this. You can punish them, but there'll be more behind the ones who are in jail who are going to do it.
At least the ones who, have been organising so far will be in a place where they cannot organise these protests. That, to my mind, is a good thing. It will also have a deterrent effect. It won't deter the absolute fanatics, no, but it will have a deterrent effect. And as far as I'm concerned, when we emit less than 1% of all carbon emissions in this country, and in China something like 25%.
And they've got 1 billion people. They've got 1 billion people.
It is absolutely ludicrous to suppose that blocking our roads is going to make an iota of difference to what Xi Jinping does.
And then we get Ben to the point of, why don't you go to China and protest there and block their roads?
I don't speak Chinese.
No, but just the reason surely is that you'd be probably executed or something.
Well, listen, I think you make a good point. So you're bringing up China. People always bring up China, Iran, Russia, Egypt, right? If someone had told you, Jeremy, say 5 years ago, if someone had told you a non-violent protester is getting 5 years in prison for being on a Zoom call discussing a protest, you think, nah, you've got that wrong.
I mean, and I can't think of examples, Anne, but it does seem like a quite a long sentence, does it not?
Well, as I say, I was cheering because I think it is time that the judiciary did take this very, very seriously indeed. I think it's right. And as I say, nothing that is being done here to stop people getting to hospital and get to medical appointments and taking exams and getting to work, none of that is going to make an iota of difference to the other 99% of emissions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anne Widdecombe, former Conservative Minister who believes justice has been served, and Ben Larsen from Just Stop Oil, who has himself been found guilty of disrupting traffic.
Can I just say, anyone who agrees with Anne, go sit on the couch. Anyone who agrees with me, go to juststopoil.org and sign up and take action today.
Thank you very much.